FPL Game Week 8, my first transfer planned. It is, of course, the international break, but there are going to be price changes for some big players going into the international break. We've got 2 free transfers, and today I'm going to have a look at my team. We're going to discuss 2 weeks after wildcard, one good week and one bad week. We'll go through a lot of the players, discuss who I'm happy with, discuss who I'm sad with, potential transfers I'm looking to make over the next few weeks, and anything I might be acting early on over the international break because of players going up and down in price. What is up, everyone? FPL Harry here. Before we dive in, 2,000 likes is the aim. Subscribe if you are new around here. And it is our Game Week 8 first transfer plans. It is, of course, the international break, so 2 weeks until the next deadline. But I know some of you are looking at your teams and wondering what transfers to make. And I am, of course, doing the same with my team. So we'll have a look. We'll go through every single player and we'll talk about who I'm happy with and who I'm sad with. Starting off in goal, pretty happy with David Raya as a long-term pick. But, of course, no clean sheets in the last 2 games for him. So, of course, I would have rather picked a goalkeeper who did well. I still like him as the best long-term goalkeeper, and he goes away to Bournemouth this week. So I'm absolutely happy with David Raya, and I don't plan on selling him. I still prefer him as the best goalkeeper in the game. Next up is Fabianski on the bench. Again, any 4 million. He is just going to be fine and absolutely just going to stay in my place at the moment. Moving into my defense. Again, Gabriel, a bit like Raya, was fantastic for the first 5 weeks. And then since the wildcard has not been great, but I am just going to hold on to Gabriel. They've conceded a couple of sloppy goals, but we know how good they are defensively and we know how good he is going forward as well. Next up is Trent. Trent has been really good and I'm trying to put a negative spin on it because when we talk about my potential transfers, Trent is a player who might leave my team. But at the moment, Trent is in there and he's been fantastic for me so far this season. Picked up another clean sheet and bonus points in game week 7. Well, he's got bonus points at the moment at time of recording, but we know there have been some late changes. So I'm very happy with him. The issue is he's the only player that I can free up money with in my team, basically, that doesn't have a good run of fixtures over the next few weeks. Saka and Haaland are the other 2 big cash cows in my lineup, but they've got great fixtures over the next few weeks, and I don't plan on selling them. So if I do want to make a few changes, like buying Cole Palmer, for example, the money has to come from Trent Alexander-Arnold as one of my 2 free transfers. I do have 2.7 million in the bank because I did sell Luis Diaz going into the deadline for Mavididi. Now, elsewhere in defence, I do have Rico Lewis. He goes away to Wolves this week, and I'm happy enough with him. He picked up an assist, but without Rodri, Manchester City are leaking goals like even worse than they were before. Wolves away this week, and Wolves have been good going forward. There's, of course, chances of Rico Lewis getting a bench. I still am happy with Lewis. I still think at 4.7 million, he offers really, really good value. He's so focal to what Manchester City are doing at the moment. He's so integral. So I'm going to take the odd benching on the chin from Lewis, and I'm just going to hold on to him. On the bench, we've got Mykolenko. Mykolenko didn't feature in their last game. He's unlikely to play any part in the internationals over the break, and that's a bit of a concern. He doesn't have a fantastic injury record and goes away to Ipswich this week, and I might end up needing him. We then have Greaves last on the bench, and again, Ipswich, although they have a nice run, Everton at home this week, have not been defending very well recently. Of course, just shipped 4 goals to West Ham in game week 7. I don't mind these 2 as cheap options, and if I was wildcarding and they were both fully fit, I probably would still stick with Mykolenko and Greaves because we have seen improved performances for Everton over the past couple of games. So I do still think they're good at their prices as long as Mykolenko returns to fitness. Also on my bench, we have Semenyo, who's in my midfield. He has a few difficult games over the next few weeks with Arsenal, Aston Villa and Manchester City. I do plan on just holding Semenyo through those 3 games because on the other side, there is a really nice run of games for Bournemouth. And I've got other players in my midfield that I can rotate that offers a nice benching option for Semenyo. So I don't mind Semenyo. Of course, he did blank this week and actually Bournemouth failed to score against Leicester, which wasn't ideal. I expected more from Bournemouth in that game. I expected more than 1 goal in that game, full stop. But still pretty happy with him as a long-term pick. Elsewhere in my midfield, the other cheap options we've got is Mavididi. I brought him in as a bit of a punt this week. Southampton away, Nottingham Forest at home, Ipswich away over the next 3 game weeks. I'm just going to run with him over those games and see how it goes. If he blanks after all of those, then I might look to someone else, another cheap option like a Rodgers, like a McNeil or something like that. But at the moment, I'm going to take the punt and it's what I've done. And I'm still happy with him, right? Leicester won the game. They are scoring a few more goals. It wasn't him this time, but hopefully it can be him next week. The other cheap option that we've got is Smith Rowe, who didn't start against Manchester City, feels like from just a tactical point of view. But it is interesting to know that when they have a more difficult game, he's not guaranteed to start and he might be the one that drops out. And he does have a couple of difficult games on the horizon, like Aston Villa at home this week. I do expect him to come back in, but it is a slight bit of a concern for me. I don't mind him. A couple of blanks recently, so he's not a definite hold. And if I look at Cole Palmer, he might be the one that goes to free up space for Cole Palmer in my midfield. But at the moment, I'm happy enough with Smith Rowe. Bukayo Saka, he was one that we doubted going into this week. Could I do Saka to Palmer? Saka comes in with 2 assists and a goal, going absolutely nowhere in my midfield. Again, I want to get to the 2 premium midfield, 1 premium forward structure in my team with Saka and Palmer for the long run. And Saka is going absolutely nowhere. The most integral part of that Arsenal attack, whether Odegaard is fit or Odegaard is out. And then Brian Mbeumo, he scored again. Brentford scored 5 and he got just 1 goal, but I'm still happy with him, right? He's on flying form and Brentford look great going forward. They go away to Manchester United after the international break. We'll have to wait and see what's going to happen with Manchester United in that fixture. Will they have a new manager? Will they not? If you are a Manchester United fan, let me know in the comments what you expect to happen and what you want to happen in terms of Erik ten Hag as a manager. Again, I'm happy with a lot of these players. Solanke up front. Now, the thing with Solanke is he's continuing to get little returns, but I do need that bigger return from him at 7.6 million. I do have a nice run of fixtures for Spurs over the next few weeks, so I am going to hold on to him and hope that he gets that big return. There's no way I'm selling Solanke. He's not the way that I would free up that extra bit of money, I don't think, to go and get Cole Palmer in my midfield. But I am keeping an eye on him because if he's only going to get 5 or 6 or 7 points every week, then maybe I need to think about going for someone a little bit more explosive. But if I'm not going to captain him, then that's not the end of the world. So let's see how they get on. Of course, Spurs 2-0 up at half time. I fully expected them to go on and score more goals in that second half, and they fell apart. So that's why I didn't go with Van der Ven as my defender this week when I was considering selling Trent. I'm glad I didn't do that. West Ham at home next week. Let's see what Solanke can bring. He's not going anywhere. Of course, I went with Chris Wood. I started him against Chelsea. As a Chelsea fan, what a crazy game that was. 2 incredible goalkeeping performances. I didn't go Palmer. Chris Wood did score. Chelsea dropped points. It's one of those as a Chelsea fan. I wanted us to win. Cole Palmer not doing too much to punish my rank, but then Chris Wood scoring, and I needed a Chelsea win more than anything. They've got a few nice games over the next few weeks, so I'm definitely holding Wood for those. And then we've got Erling Haaland. Now, he scored 10 goals in the first 5 weeks and then has blanked in 2 games, and I'm still not going to consider selling him. There is a return of fixtures from about game week 12, 13, 14, where Liverpool start to look a little bit better. And maybe we start to go, well, Haaland and Salah, we just have to chop and change depending on fixtures and things like that. Haaland is going nowhere. I'm not going to be reactionary on 2 blanks. And he currently has the captaincy armband for me again going into next week. So looking at my team, there's no one I look at that I really want to sell. It's just if there's a player that I want to buy. And that is, of course, still Cole Palmer. Yes, I didn't buy him this week because some of you correctly pointed out that 4 goals isn't going to happen every week. But I still like him as a long-term pick in my team. There's no obvious way for me to go and buy him into my team with 1 transfer. So I might have to do a couple of things. There's no one in my lineup I'm unhappy with at the moment, but there are a couple of players I want to buy. So just having a look at that potential transfer, and it's the same that I spoke about last week. And before you all say, Harry, you're reactionary, you're buying Aït-Nouri, I did have in my video before the weekend, before he got a goal and assist, these exact potential transfers of Smith Rowe to Palmer and Trent to Aït-Nouri. It would have been a -4. So I didn't do it, and I'm still considering very similar transfers again this week. I think I'm very slightly better up because if I'd have made those transfers, of course, Aït-Nouri looks like a good buy as it would have been this week, but I would have benched Chris Wood in my team if I'd have done this because I would have had Mavididi. I would have not had Smith Rowe, so I wouldn't have had an easy benching, so I would have benched Chris Wood away at Chelsea. So I'm glad I didn't, but it's still the same transfers I'm looking at. Smith Rowe to Palmer is, of course, a nice upgrade. It's a very simple upgrade. And Trent Alexander-Arnold down to someone, of course, is a downgrade. It's just whether I like Trent going up against Palmer. To talk about the cheaper options I like, there's no one that really stands out. Aït-Nouri does go on a really nice run from about game week 10 onwards. He is probably top, with 3 attacking returns in the last 2 game weeks and 4 attacking returns in the first 7 game weeks. Nice run of fixtures coming up. 4.4 million. He's probably one that I can go and buy. In terms of money in the bank, I have exact money to do Smith Rowe to Palmer and Trent to a 4.5. So I have 0.1 spare if I go Aït-Nouri. Palmer has already risen, so it's unlikely to rise again early on in the international break. I will be keeping an eye on price changes. I haven't made the move early enough yet. I basically have to decide who is a better asset in Cole Palmer or in Trent Alexander-Arnold. Smith Rowe versus Aït-Nouri is pretty similar in terms of what they offer at their price in their position. And of course, I have other midfielders that I can cover, and I don't massively need Smith Rowe in my team at the moment. So it does just come down. I can do this for free. I've got 2 free transfers. I do like the Palmer pick as a long-term run, but Trent has been so good so far this season. The next 4 fixtures, though, Chelsea, Arsenal, Brighton, Villa. Now, Liverpool have been so good defensively so far this season, but that doesn't scream clean sheets for me. But then Palmer has Liverpool, Newcastle, Man United, and Arsenal as his next run of fixtures. And that doesn't scream loads of goals for Chelsea. So I don't know. It feels like a weird time to make this switch, given that they play each other in game week 8. So if Palmer scores, then it will look like a good option because Palmer will wipe out the Trent clean sheet. But if Trent keeps a clean sheet against Palmer and Palmer doesn't score, then Trent will be much better. So at the moment, I think because of price changes, I imagine that Palmer and Aït-Nouri will probably both rise in price during the international break or at some point for the game week 8 deadline, that I will probably make these transfers going into game week 8. But if there's a chance that neither of them or only one of them rises because I have that 0.1 million buffer, then I might just wait and do it going into game week 9 and wait a week because I don't massively need Aït-Nouri. I could do with the defender because Mykolenko is a doubt and Aït-Nouri has Manchester City, whereas Trent has Chelsea, slightly better fixture. Smith Rowe, of course, has a decent fixture at home to Aston Villa this week as well. I could go Collins. I think that's his 3rd attacking return so far this season. They have a nice run, but their defensive data is equally as bad as Aït-Nouri, and I probably prefer Aït-Nouri's attacking threat over Collins. There are a few other options at that price. Of course, Van de Ven has risen, but I don't massively want him now watching Spurs defend. I could go for another 4 million with someone like a Harwood Bellis, about Faz or something like that. I could do and save the money, but I do think Aït-Nouri is probably the popular buy. It's just Trent versus Palmer. Who is a better asset? Please let me know if you are Team Trent or you are Team Palmer. Which of these? I can't own both. I have to pick one. So having a look at my team, specifically looking at game week 8. Raya going nowhere. Gabriel, I'm happy with my lineup, right? It is just, do I do Smith Rowe to Palmer and then Trent to Aït-Nouri? And if I do Trent to Aït-Nouri, do I play Mykolenko or do I play Greaves? The issue I have with that Trent Aït-Nouri move is if, let's say Lewis is unlikely to start for Manchester City, which is possible. And let's say Mykolenko is out, right? Greaves is already going to have to play because if I bring in Aït-Nouri, Greaves is probably the best option that I've got. And if Mykolenko is a doubt, which he probably is going into the next deadline, I'm then stuck with Gabriel and Greaves, which is fine. They have good fixtures this week. And then Lewis, praying he gets minutes. And then if he doesn't, praying Mykolenko is back fit. If not, then I have Aït-Nouri against Manchester City. Now, it's not the end of the world for the 3rd defender with my team looking pretty strong, but it does leave me a little bit weak. So, as I said, that's the 2 transfers that I am considering this week. Smith Rowe to Palmer and Trent down to Aït-Nouri. I haven't done it, and I don't plan on doing it until later on in the international break going into the game week 8 deadline, unless there's 2 random price changes, which I'd be surprised at, given that Palmer didn't get many returns this week and goes away to Liverpool. It's also possible I don't do it at all. So that's the plan at the moment going into game week 8. I'll have a review on those transfers. It's just Trent and it's just Palmer. Which of those do I prefer? I've got the money with those 2 moves. I've got the 2 free transfers. It's not for a hit. It's just which I think is a better option for the next few weeks. So this is how we're lining up. At the moment, the captaincy armband is on Erling Haaland. The vice captain is on Saka. Luckily, game week 6 wildcard went horribly. Game week 7 has gone much better. I'm on about 62 points before they do that random update of bonus points. So I'm about 220k. Of course, I'll post on screen now if things have changed and what my score is at the moment. But pretty happy with that. I always wanted a green arrow going into the international break to make me feel a little bit better about how the wildcard started last week. Anyway, it is international break now. There won't be a video over the next few days. We might put out a wildcard draft for those of you considering playing it. So if you want a wildcard draft, if no one's playing their wildcard draft this week, then their wildcard this week, then I won't do it. So drop in the comments if you plan on wildcarding, and I will of course do a video if there's enough of you that want it. If not, we'll be back next week going into game week 8. A few days, probably the Monday or Tuesday going into game week 8. If we don't do a wildcard draft before that, but hopefully we'll have a few videos out once we start to get closer to the game week 8 deadline. Enjoy the few days off. Enjoy the international football if you do. If not, enjoy switching off from FPL. It's been a roller coaster start to the season, and it will continue as soon as it gets back in game week 8, I'm sure. Thank you so much for watching. Drop any questions you have about your team in the comment section down below. 2,000 likes is the aim. Subscribe if you are new around here, and I'll be back again very soon.